Welcome back, everyone, to Flywheel. I'm your host, CFI Dave, here with Capital K and Sam McCullough. And we just finished our section with Sam Kazemian, and we're moving on to our protocol partner feature of the week. And this time, we have our friend North from Ramses on. Ramses is an exchange on Arbitrum. I've just been seeing them so much on the timeline and in the chat, offering these insane yields with Frax. And you guys have been working closely with Frax since launch. So, North, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, great to be here. Anytime the topic is Frax, I'm always there and excited to talk about it. They've been the most, so collaborative, so fast moving, no BS, partner, and it's been fantastic to work with them.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. The Frax way. Now, getting into it, for those unfamiliar, what is Ramses, and how does it work?
Yeah, so Ramses is next gen hyper efficient DEX, and the reason why those titles are appropriate is there's what makes it different than a DEX you might be familiar with is that it's a combination of really intense incentives infrastructure. So what I mean by that is a way for protocols to use their budgets to incentivize liquidity providers. And to do so, in combination with concentrated liquidity. And so we have this incredible, proven, battle-tested technology with, UniV3. And then essentially what we did is we created a novel implementation of that concentrated liquidity with our incentives infrastructure. And so the long story short is you have this environment that's developed, which we're calling competitive farming, to where an LP can super aggressively, open a position that is maybe even one tick, down to one tick, and provide liquidity there. And if they do that, and they're in range, they are in competition with the other LPs who may not be willing to be so active or competitive, and they may have a slightly wider range on their concentrated liquidity position. And if so, that tighter range is rewarded more than the wider range. And what ends up happening is you end up seeing that translated. If you look at where the rubber meets the road, you look at our volume, punching way far above our weight, for our TVL. You look at our TVL growth, and then you look at the fees and how they're feeing. We look today on DeFi Llama, we're of all, fee revenue generation across DeFi, we were number 30. So that's like putting us right up there with a DEX that has 11.5 million in TVL. Something's happening here. It's exciting. It's really great for our partners because they're able to, take advantage of this capital efficiency. And we feel like we're just getting started.
Hell yeah. And speaking of partners, Frax has been a close collaborator with you guys. So can we go into that relationship with Frax more?
Yeah, I think one thing that's notable about Frax is you're talking with the founder, right? So how unique is that to where we may have a specific question like, hey, on this, Frax inverse, Frax Dola pool, we've got a liquidity provider, that's coming in and maybe going to double the TVL. What are we thinking on, incentives, incentive plan for the next, month? And Sam's weighing in, right? He's so even super detailed when they have hundreds of pools across, half as many dexes. He's involved, right? And he cares, and he really wants to stay in the details. And then you have other, great team members. Most of our interaction is with Nader. If everybody, knows Nader, and
Nader,
and he's just great.
Yeah.
Nader. Yeah, Nader. Yeah, Nader.
Yeah.
And so he's just fast, and right from the beginning, he's always shot straight with us. Hey, this is how we're going to calculate, our incentives. These are the pools we want to roll with. Any partners we have introduced them to have always had a good experience, and they've been willing to partner with upstarts. Graviton Protocol is a great example. CDP friendly liquidity fork comes to Arbitrum, and guess who's right there waiting for them? Nader and Frax, and they said we're in. So just a great partner.
Yeah, we had the Gravitas guys on This Week in Frax several weeks ago, and they were explaining what they were cooking up. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, Nodder's great. Yeah, I probably talk to Nodder the most on the Frax team too, because we're always cooking up incentives and talking about like how can we like do the community aspect. And while and
Yeah.
I can't imagine how many group chats he has, honestly, all across the board.
And to respond and to still be responsive,
Mm-hmm.
and collegial and a good communicator. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
hats off to him. He's a better man
Yeah.
than I.
And so Ramses is on Arbitrum, and right now Arbitrum is in the middle of the STIP governance vote. Can we go into a bit of that and like how that is shaping up?
Yeah, that one's interesting. There's like the superficial, story, and then there's the one that's a little deeper. And we
Mm-hmm.
can hit both according to your interest. The superficial story is, so they smartly, third party said, "Hey, we're going to get something out the door." Right? We're bleeding TVL to Optimism and other chains. We need some activity here. We got a huge treasury. Let's deploy. And so they put together this STIP. Or short-term incentive program. I love it. And so then they open it up, certain criteria, but essentially from a deck standpoint, the superficial piece is, okay, great. We'll apply for an appropriate amount and we'll put that towards LP incentives. Great. Nothing surprising there. Blue chips, and then support the key building, partners, small and large on the platform. That's interesting. Everybody's been kicking off. It's I don't know if fun's the right word, but the politics associated with haters and lovers on all sides of each of these platforms, whether they're perps or dexes or
Mm-hmm.
stable coins, like they come
Mhm.
out of the woodwork, and so it's been a sideshow of sorts. So excited to get back to work, in that respect. The deeper story is. We're kind of operating from a deck standpoint and an incentive standpoint. We're still operating a little bit in like the 1.0 era on how to handle these incentives. And
Mm-hmm.
an example is, what do LPs do with ARB incentives? Well, they farm and they dump them, right? And so just raising our hand and saying, hey, we're actually a next gen DEX that has some interesting mechanisms. One of them being that we separate the LP rewards, from all these long-term, 4-year, mostly protocols like Frax and Liquidity, and I mean down the whole line, and we separate how those emissions are determined from these LP rewards, and we reward the LPs with our native, RAM token. So it's like, so we actually are in a position to where we don't just have to point ARB right at LPs. We can actually give it to the community and have the protocols that are 4-year vested into this platform and therefore Arbitrum. All the users who've been building up positions. Anybody who wants to come on and have a voice, right? They can buy RAM and lock and build a position. Let's give them the ARB and have them vote it to the pools where they would like to see the emissions go. And in doing so, you have people who want to lock and continually see that ARB stay in the system, benefit, not only the ecosystem, but their pools. Like, why don't we give it to them? And unfortunately, with this STIP, too short a time frame, too much controversy out there,
Yeah.
too steep a learning curve, to where we basically we had to say, you know what, this is a bridge too far. We're going to have to tackle this another day, and we're just going to go straight down the middle with the other dexes and go for LP incentives. But there is a better way, and we're going to get there eventually.
You're gonna get So that is the value prop offer for Ramses, guys. Last question, closing up. Where can people find Ramses? Where can people go and access those yields? And do you know the current numbers right now for any Frax pools on Ramses?
I sure do. Yeah. So Ramses.exchange. You can reach out to, check out our Discord, Ramses Exchange. Great community will help you there. They're also a little irreverent, pretty fun, and also a lot of autistic folks in there. So you'll get help.
The autism is strong.
FrxETH. Yeah, FrxETH. All these pools are popping right now. FrxETH. All these are at least over 400K, and we got 18.7% on FrxETH. Frax Dola 41.5%, Frax USDC 7%, and then Frax Alchemix, the new player, Al USD is at 54%, and that's already
Ooh.
over 350K in that pool. So
Nice.
some fun pools to play in on Ramses if you're a Frax Maxi.
Nice. Frax Maxis, be aware. Ramses is here. Thank you, Nord. Thank you so much for coming
on.
Thank
you guys.
Thank you, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Peace, guys.
All right. Ciao.
Peace.
Ciao.